Some experiments make headlines: splitting the atom, landing on the moon, creating a new element that lasts a fraction of a second but still gets a name. And some are quietly brilliant, mind-blowing, but nearly forgotten. Today, we're revisiting two of those. One that seemed to touch the paranormal, telekinesis. And one that defied physics itself, superfluidity. Let's start with the weird one, telekinesis. The ability to move things with your mind. Sounds like sci-fi, right? Well, for decades, people took it very seriously. In the 20th century, scientists and researchers, not just guys in tinfoil hats, tried to figure out if telekinesis could be real. One famous experiment was at Princeton University, where a lab ran studies for nearly 30 years on mind over matter. They used something called a random event generator, like an electronic coin flip. Participants tried to mentally influence the machine to spit out more ones than zeros. And the results? Tiny deviations, very small, but statistically unusual. Some called it evidence of micropsychokinesis. Others said it was just noise in the data. No one could fully replicate it. And after years of debate, funding dried up. But here's what's fascinating. Even if telekinesis didn't work, the experiment itself was bold. It tried to ask, is consciousness just a passenger or a driver? And sometimes the value of an experiment isn't in the result. It's in the question. Now, let's shift gears. From minds that move objects, to fluids that defy gravity. Welcome to the world of superfluidity. Discovered in the 1930s, superfluidity is a state of matter where a liquid, typically helium, flows without any resistance at all. No friction, no drag, no viscosity. Put it in a container, and it climbs the walls. Put it in a loop, and it spins forever. Yes, like a liquid perpetual motion machine. And here's the wildest part. This happens at temperatures near absolute zero. We're talking 271 degrees Celsius, colder than outer space. At that point, helium atoms behave like one giant quantum wave. All in sync, a superfluid. This blew minds when it was discovered. Because it meant the everyday rules of physics, friction, gravity, inertia, just broke. In one famous experiment, scientists poured superfluid helium into a container with tiny holes. Instead of leaking slowly, the helium crawled through the holes instantly. It didn't flow like water. It moved like it was everywhere at once. It even forms weird, quantum vortices, little tornadoes that behave more like equations than liquids. Now here's the thing. Superfluidity isn't just a curiosity. It helped us understand quantum mechanics on a macroscopic level. It showed that particles could act like waves. That weird quantum stuff wasn't limited to atoms. It could happen in buckets. And that's led to ideas for everything from ultra-sensitive gyroscopes to quantum computers. Even neutron stars might contain superfluid matter deep inside them. So why don't we hear more about it? Because it's not flashy. It doesn't explode. It doesn't win Nobel Prizes every year. But it's one of the most beautiful, haunting discoveries in physics. A liquid that doesn't obey liquid rules. A glimpse into the fabric of reality behaving like a dream. And that's kind of the point. Both telekinesis and superfluidity ask uncomfortable questions. What's the limit of the mind? What's the limit of matter? One leans toward mystery. The other is grounded in quantum mechanics. But both remind us that the world is not as solid as it looks. Sometimes, science isn't about solving the puzzle. Sometimes it's about realizing the puzzle is way weirder than you thought. So the next time someone says, that experiment went nowhere, maybe it just didn't go where we expected. Thanks for watching. If you know a forgotten experiment that deserves more love, leave it in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, because sometimes the strangest questions lead to the biggest answers.